Welcome to the Startups Without Borders podcast. I'm Valentina Primo, and I'm the founder of this platform, this community, and this movement for entrepreneurs who are starting new ventures while starting new lives. Each week, we'll be sharing inspiring interviews with the most audacious startup founders while highlighting resources for anyone starting up. Gear up to get some real-life advice. How to get people to listen when the whole world is entering panic mode? As we dive into a brave new world where everyone is constantly bombarded by messages online, getting your story across is one of the hardest challenges. To answer this question, we're bringing you one of the top panels at the Startups Without Borders Summit with two powerhouse women, Maha Abouelenein and Dina El Mofty. In this super fireside chat, Dina El Mofty, who is the founder of INJAZ Egypt, sits down with Maha Abouelenein, Chief Value Officer for Gary Vaynerchuk, to discuss PR strategies, effective communication, and how to master media relations when the world is not paying attention.
So everyone, we've all been through such a tough year. It's been quite the Corona coaster, as we all call it. And in the midst of all our challenges and ups and downs, all while trying to get our brand out there, there is no topic more relevant today than how to master media relations when the world isn't paying attention. And who better to discuss this topic with than Maha Abouelenein, media and PR guru. Maha, of course, is someone in the region who has helped so many successful tech initiatives on the ground to happen. She has helped so many global companies land into the region. She is a great supporter and mentor of entrepreneurs and startups in the region. And most of all, Maha is always on top of her game. So such a pleasure to speak with you today, Maha. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody. Hello, Startup Without Borders. Dina, thank you for such a kind introduction. You know, really, it's really fun for me to spend time talking to entrepreneurs about something that I love, about communications. And I really want to add value to everyone on this call today and this meeting today. And please do tag us, do reach out through DM. Let us know if there's something that we can help you with. I'm very excited to be here today.
Thank you so much, Maha. So, Maha, you've built a career, a very long career in communications and PR. And today the world has changed. How we do communications, how we do PR, how we connect with people with our communication strategies has all changed. And digital has now become a real force. It has truly taken over to a very large extent. So when we talk about putting our message out there, so many of us feel like we're drowning in the sea of constant noise. We're in an age of continuous distraction. And the question is here, so how can we learn the lesson and master media relations in an age of continuous distraction and continuous noise? What would you say to that?
Yeah, so no question, we live in what I call the age of speed and noise. There's 24-hour news. We're on social media constantly. We're bombarded with messages. Brands are really spending a lot of time telling their story through social media, but also through traditional media. So you're looking at news outlets, you're looking at television, you're looking at radio, you're looking at blogs, you're looking at online outlets. So the first thing I want to tell startups to think about is, what is your message? What is it that you'd like to communicate? Because I think the most important thing that you need to think about is, what is it that you want to say, and develop that narrative and develop the right story that says what you really want. So focusing it into something succinct. So you're not going out there multiple ways with multiple messages. So focus is the first thing on that message. The second thing is how. How are you going to tell your story? Are you going to tell your story through your employees? Are you going to tell it through social media on channels? Are you going to tell it through an event, like speaking at an event like this? So working on how you're going to tell that story is really important. The last thing, sorry, my dog is making like this crazy noise underneath my feet. The last thing, we think about what's the message, how you're going to do it, is the why. Why do people care? Why should it matter? So when you think about breaking through the clutter and breaking through the noise, think about why they need to know that information. I think there is so much out there with social media. There's so much out there in the press, but still, your message can be heard. Your story can be told. And hopefully today we're going to help you with some ideas on how to get that done.
Amazing, Maha. So focus on the message. Think of how you're going to tell your story. And it's really all about storytelling, right? So the focus and the how and the story itself.
So what do you want to say? How do you want to say it? And more importantly, why? Why does it matter? What is the message that you feel you need to tell the world or that you need to share? So why they should care? Why does it matter?
Yes. So the focus, the how, and the why. Why should it matter? Excellent. So what would you say right now when we're all going through these turbulent economic times, we're all faced with very, tight budgets and budget cuts are happening, and when it's very challenging to make that investment in our media relations and our media strategy, how can we go about doing that in the most basic way, even for a start? And what happens if we don't do that?
Yeah. So think about if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. So you really need to have a strategy. How am I going to communicate about my company or what my startup is about? And there's many reasons why you need to, right? You need to communicate to investors so they invest in your company. You need to communicate to retain talent or to hire talent. You need to communicate to get customers, if you want people to download your app or you want customers to buy your product. So you need to communicate for that. And then you also need to communicate with your employees. We're working remotely. We're doing things in different ways that we haven't done before. Making sure your employees, you have an internal communications plan is really important because they're your front line. So when I think about your question talking about what are some things businesses should do because budgets are tight in economic times? Use your own channels. So think about your Instagram and your LinkedIn and your TikTok, if you're on it, or your Facebook page as an opportunity to reach customers through your own messages. So have a good plan for good photography. Have a good copywriter on your team writing good copy for you. Have someone create videos. They don't have to be polished videos. They don't have to be, well-produced videos. They have to be authentic. So if you guys want to do a simple message and a simple story and explain something, you don't have to go hire a PR agency. You don't have to go hire an ad agency to create content for you and to tell your story. You just need to focus on doing it yourself, but looking at your channels. And one of the things that I'm always talking about with startups and founders is really lean into building your personal brand. You're like, why do I need to talk about my personal brand? I'm the CEO of this company and I'm trying to sell my product. Yeah, but think about your consumer behavior. You like to invest in a brand that you love the person behind the brand. You want to know under the hood, what are some of the stories or how do they make the product or the secret sauce or the behind the scenes. So invest your time and money when you have limited budgets in building your personal brand and in telling the story of your company. A lot of people think, no one's going to want to hear the story of let's say a well-established company like Coca-Cola, from the beginning. No, what if they came out with a video telling the story of the bottle? I would watch that. I would want to know, how did it come up? Why is it so revered? What is something that's so special about it? So think about using your time and effort, creating brand love through telling stories. If you don't have budget to go hire an agency to tell the story, do it yourself. You create your own news. So you look inside your company, you look inside your product, you look inside your people, and you find out what are the stories that I can tell through my social media channels directly.
And so more than any other time in history, we actually have that power under our fingertips of leveraging social media and telling our story through that.
Yeah,
through those channels. And it doesn't have to be a huge budget to do that.
No, and I think one of the things that, we've learned through social media and especially during COVID is direct to consumer matters. Like talking directly to the consumer, delivering directly to the consumer, inspiring direct to the consumer. So think about what is the thing you can hack in your business to talk directly to the consumer. So social media channels are one way to do that. Another way to do that is to think about creating value. What is it that you can do to create value for the customer or the person in front of you? You don't necessarily have to have an ask. You need to probably give value first, add value first, and continue to build loyalty and brand love, and then ask after you've delivered that value.
Yeah. So on that point, a lot of us do get distracted while we're building our brand and focus on the image, its appearance, its perception, and we get lost in that and lost in many other things that we actually lose sight of the most important core part of our business, which is adding value to our customers, adding value to our consumers. We sometimes lose sight of that when we get lost in everything else related to the brand. So how would you advise us to get back to that and focus really our energy on continuously adding maximum value to your clients?
I love this question. Love it. So one of the things I always talk about is in order to add value to others, you need to build value in yourself. So it's that whole thing about when you get on an airplane and they're like, put your mask on before you help put on a mask for somebody else. That's what you need to do. So creating value for other people starts with you being valuable. So are you investing in yourself? What skills do you have to offer? What are the things you're doing to invest in yourself so that you have something to give out to the world? I didn't start doing communications coaching and helping people until I really had some things under my belt, that I had worked on a bunch of crises, that I've landed a bunch of press conferences, that I've told a lot of stories. Once I felt like I had something valuable to add, that's when I started going out and trying to do that. So I want you guys to think about that in the same way. What is it that you have that you can build in yourself so that you can give that value to somebody else? The second thing is value creation, or that value equation, is not what I think is valuable. It's what I think Dina thinks is valuable. So I look at my customers value curbside pickup. So I'm going to make sure that I have a business plan to do what's valuable for them, not what's valuable for me. Curbside pickup, if I'm a restaurant, is a very, tedious process of changing my order process and changing how I package the food. And there's a lot of different details involved in that. But if you think about what's value to your customers, and if you meet them at a place that's valuable for them, you're winning as a brand.
So it's so important to get out of our heads and get into our customers' heads. And basically make all your decisions as if you're your customer. That's how you can add maximum value. And what about those that might tell you, okay, I've just started out my business, I've just started out my startup, I'm worried that we don't have much of a story to tell. How can you help them to dig deep to find that story?
I love this. Okay, so for people that say they don't have a story to tell, start with you. You're the story. Why did you start this company? How did you come up with the idea? What are some of the things that you're doing? What's a day in the life of running that business? What are some of the challenges that you're facing? How do you come up with the brand? How did you come up with the packaging? There's so many stories that people love listening to and hearing. There's a really fun podcast that I listen to called How I Built This with Guy Raz. And I'd like you to get inspired by listening to some of those stories. It's like, how did Lululemon start? And all these great brands that we've heard of, they started from zero. They started from nothing. So you guys who have a startup, who are in your early days, your first 100 days, your first year, start documenting that process. Document what you guys are going through. Take pictures of the meetings if you don't want to share anything confidential. And then copy, write really good copy about what's happening at this moment. You're going to look back on that a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years ago, and remember the days. Do you guys remember seeing this picture of Google that started in a garage? That's the founder story. If you are a new business, start documenting your founder story.
So just keep getting creative about things, like find the story to tell, find certain experiences that you're going through, what your brand's value is all about, and dig deep on that and be creative, basically. Are there any resources you think that are good for startups and entrepreneurs to tap into?
What did you say? I missed that. I talked over you.
Are there any resources you feel that are good for startups and entrepreneurs to tap into that would help them with their messaging?
So many resources, actually. So one, like if there's different parts of communication. So if you really want to, there's resources from everything to like how to design things on your own to how to, I take a lot of courses. Like I'm a person who takes a lot of online courses. I try to spend once a month learning, sharpening my own saw, learning a new skill. So you can go to like Udacity, or you can go to Udemy, or you can go to YouTube, or you can go to Google. There's tons of resources for free information to like how to work on your writing, to using apps like Canva to design things without having to hire a designer. But when I think about, the subject of our talk today and cutting through with media relations and looking at things like fake news and how do you tell your story. And even if you look at the economic situation, a lot of newspapers and magazines cut staff because they don't have all the ads coming in. You should really try to create connections with journalists online. So get on Twitter, follow all your favorite journalists, understand what are they writing about, what are the topics that are interesting to them. Don't send a tech story about an app to somebody who writes about, fintech or whatever, like making sure you follow the beat of the writer of what they write about. So start following that writer. And then I would start tagging them. If you have a story, if you have something interesting to say, don't hesitate to tag them.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Don't tag them on Instagram, tag them on Twitter. Like, you guys know the value of a DM. Like, you can DM somebody and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I sent you an email about my company and we're launching a new product. I'd love to hear what you think. You're not going in asking them to write a story. You're asking them to give you a look and tell you what they think. Asking is the right way instead of telling them like, I need you to help me with this, or I need you to write this story. Just like, hey, could you give me your feedback on this? I'd really like you to take a look at this story. This is something I would love to share with your readers. Is there somebody on your editorial team that I can talk to? So first things first, to get to the journalists, to get them to listen to you, to get them to pay attention, start following them on social media, learn what they like to write about, learn what kind of things that they're covering, and then go in and add value. You have to be timely with your story. Don't send them something when there's a breaking news situation happening. Yeah. Don't go to them when they're busy covering a big story that you know they're not going to pay attention. So during, let's say, the October weekend or National Day weekend, if you're in Dubai in December, like, don't pitch stories during holiday time periods. Always try to think about what's the best way to be relevant based on the timing of your story, and then who is the right person you need to talk to at that outlet. Also think about, who do you need to talk to? Is this a story for Cairo Scene, or is this a story for a financial magazine? Like, you have to think about making sure that your message is relevant to the outlet and that your timing is relevant to the news cycle.
That's a great tip, because a lot of people wouldn't think of reaching out to journalists. So don't be shy, everyone. Tag them, follow them, tag them with relevant stories that are in the right time. So that's a great tip, Maha. Thanks.
Dina, just one last tip for them. Like, on Twitter, you guys can create lists. So what you should do is take all the journalists that you like to follow, or that you want let's say you want your company to be an entrepreneur magazine in the Middle East. So you start like creating a list of all the journalists that you want to follow or that you want to be in those publications. So you have it organized. So then you can start talking to them and having dialogues with them through Twitter. Twitter's got like a lot of great features, like not just the list, but Twitter search. Find out what topics are trending, and then find out what people are searching, and then try to be part of those conversations. So for example, if you see something trending on Twitter, or you see when you go through search, for example, my friend was telling me the other day, like fast food Egypt. Like you want to see all the conversations around fast food in Egypt, and you have something healthy that you would like to put in, start getting on those Twitter conversations and insert your brand in those conversations in a very clever way. That's a really good way to break through the age and speed and noise, like we were talking about at the top of the call.
That's a fantastic words of advice. So Maha, if in closing we were to summarize all this into your top key messaging advice to anyone struggling with their communication strategy and their brand, how would you sum it up?
Yeah, first of all, don't overthink it. A lot of people think, I don't have an audience. I don't have a following on social media. Well, if you don't start today, you're not going to have one a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. So start building your audience. It takes time, but start. So don't hesitate. Don't overthink. That's the first thing. The second thing is invest in good writing. You're going to need good writing for a blog post. You're going to need a good writing for a LinkedIn post. You're going to need good writing for any articles you want to write, any copy that you're putting on posts. So if you're not good at writing, don't worry. Find somebody who is, that you can get even as a freelancer, because the underrated part of communications, it's not the video, it's not the image, it's the copy. And the copy is what pulls people in, and it's the thing that makes people pay attention. And actually, it's the details. The third thing is, don't speak like a robot, speak like a human. Share your stories and do storytelling like you would on your own personal social media. So don't talk like a company, talk like a human. So share what you're feeling, share what the company's going through. Try to build that connection for your audience. And then last but not least, think about the value, think about the value, think about the value. What are you doing that's valuable to others, and why should I care?
Amazing, Maha. I mean, we covered so much today. We went into a real deep dive in just a few minutes. So if you don't have a social media account, start it now and start it right away. There's no time to lose on that. And like you were saying about tagging journalists, about building relationships and being genuine, and just build these connections. Be a human, not a corporate robot. So it's all about building trust in your brand and building value, and the world is your oyster, so to speak, in terms of media relations. You'll see a big difference once you start doing that. So, Maha, lots of words of wisdom here today. Appreciate your time so much. Thank you. And I hope everybody learned a few tips and valuable lessons. It's all about adding value to your clients at the end of the day. So that's the biggest takeaway as well. Thanks so much, Maha.
I just want to say thank you to you, Dina. Thank you to everyone at Startup Borders. I saw some of the comments in the chats. I really love all the comments you guys are saying about the value chain. You thought that was really interesting to you. Please don't forget to tag me and Dina. Let us know what you guys took away from today at Maha Gaber, MAHAGABER, and at Dina
El Mofty.
ELMOFTY.
Exactly.
Have a great
Amazing
day,
takeaways. Thank you, Maha. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Thank you, Startup Without Borders.
You like what you hear? You should definitely follow us on your favorite platform. So next time you're on Instagram or Facebook, type Startups Without Borders and check out all the videos, the stories, and the resources for you to become a legend.